Welcome back to the Google Ad series for cardiologists. I'm David Spania with Brand Rocket. I can be found at brandrocket.net. And you are in the middle of a very extensive series on how to launch profitable Google Ads campaigns in cardiology and vascular health the right way. So if you were to just accept Google's recommendations, 95% of the time you're going to end up with a campaign structure that's just going to suck money right out of your ad budget. So you got to make sure that you step back and get really strategic with this. And if you're jumping in now, we covered a lot in this series, so make sure you check the notes below and go back into the other videos, because we talked about setting up conversion tracking correctly. We talked about a whole bunch of different things, starting with conversion tracking because that's the most important. But we also covered a lot of different things that are equally as important. Conversion tracking, of course, number one. Then we established like knowing your goals, knowing where you want to head. Where what is the end point? Where do you want to go? What are the marketing goals for the practice? Are you just looking to bring in additional traffic? Are you looking to get more bookings? Are you looking to get more form submissions? Subscriptions to any educational materials? There's a lot of different goals. We cover that, I believe, in the second video, and then we talk about establishing budget. Like what should your budget be? We take a deep dive into the economics of Google Ads, cost per click, all the way to like patient lifetime value. Then we also talk about what works underneath the Google Ads hood in terms of like formulas, like the engine that makes Google Ads work, because you got to know some of those basics to understand how this truly works. And then we're going to talk now about keywords. So keywords is also a deep dive, but it's really important. I say it seems like every video I make, I'm like, this is the most important video, right? So, but this is really vital, because keywords are really the no pun intended, because this is for cardiologists, but it's really the heartbeat of Google Ads, especially when it relates to search. And when you talk about the way that people search on Google is an expression of their commercial intent. So there are very distinct patterns in the way that they might type out certain words that literally you can take those keywords and put them right onto like a journey, almost like a buying journey, where somebody is in the process of discovery. A lot of times what we do, because this is Google Ads, is we start at the bottom of the funnel, right? So bottom of the funnel, high intent commercial searches, to be able to capture those people that are looking for help immediately, right? And then we also explore what we call mid funnel keywords, and then also more top of funnel keywords. Now Google as an ad ecosystem spans the entire funnel. And we'll talk a little bit about that more shortly. I did mention it in previous videos, but it's known for Google search, those high intent searches, but really they also have a display network that covers 95% of the internet. They have YouTube, they have Gmail, they have Discover. It's very, very vast. So that equates to opportunity for you as an advertiser, as a marketer in cardiology, to be able to span that entire range of intent, whether it's somebody who's just kind of casually looking for information, maybe they're looking for some educational information to download, or somebody that actually has a problem and they need your help right away. Okay, so we're going to talk about keywords and how to do proper keyword research and how to actually start structuring your keyword ideas in a way that allows you to have proper control, proper granular control, gives you the highest quality scores out of the gate. And we talked about this in a previous video. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure you check out the one on formulas. And then also allows you to be able to have granular bidding. Okay, so you can be able to bid up the keywords that truly matter to your practice, dominate the search position, and get those conversions, phone calls, form submissions, bookings into your account for proper training of the algorithm, which then gives you the fuel to be able to actually spur additional growth and scaling in your Google Ads account. So really, really important. Again, this is the heartbeat of Google Ads, all right? So let's get into it. Okay, so what you are looking at here is a Google Sheets document. So we build out all of our ad copy and all of our keywords and all of our ad copy in Google Sheets. It is way more organized, way more structured, allows us to be able to collaborate with clients or even others on our team as we're building this out. So as we build the keyword structure for different campaigns, we are in discussions with the client to understand, is this what you're looking at? Can we expand on it? Do you not want to focus on these particular keywords? It makes it very, very easy in the beginning to be able to just lay it out visually. It also helps you in terms of like structure and efficiency. It definitely adds a great deal of efficiency to be able to come up with like keyword patterns. You're going to know, like as you're going through this process, you're going to notice different patterns in the way keywords are expressed. And then you can apply those same patterns over and over and over again as you move forward, and then come up with a really nice, very strategically sound group of keywords that focuses on different positions in that buying journey or the marketing funnel. As you can see here, like we've built out some pretty extensive campaigns for cardiology. So you can see, I'm just starting with basic like cardiologist. And before I even get into this, check the notes below, because there is a link to not only this particular document, but also a video that will teach you how exactly to use this tool. Really, really important. I can't even imagine doing this manually in Google Ads. It would take forever. It would literally probably take about 2 days to be able to do it properly. This is just way more organized and structured, so highly recommended. I'm not going to get into how this works because that other video down below actually talks about that. Okay, so be sure to check it out. So you can see here, it starts off with as simple as like cardiologist. In fact, I'm just going to, since we're not going to talk about how this actually works, I'm going to hide these keyword fields, and then we're just going to focus on the different match types that are created by this spreadsheet. And let me just hide these columns so you can see phrase, exact, broad. Okay, so we load the account with all 3 match types. We don't launch with all 3 match types, but it gives preloaded with all 3 match types. It gives a great deal of flexibility depending on where we are in the launch schedule. So in the very beginning, we start with exact match because we want super tight targeting. We start with very thematic ad groups, and this is where it all starts, right here in this Google Sheets document. So you can see here as I go through, there's a lot of different, and these are ad groups, right? So ad groups have like very tight themes. So usually like 5 or 6 ad groups. It's rare that I go over that, and that is to be able to control ad rank, to get the best quality scores out of the gate. And again, go back and look at the formula video to see the detail on that. But creating it here really helps. And as I scroll through, you're going to see quite a few, right? Because there's a lot of different ways to express these keywords, and people search in very strange ways, quite frankly, and you have to capture all of it. Now, do we launch with all of this? No, not necessarily. It depends on the market. It depends on the budget, for sure. But we know the keywords that produce the fastest results because we've done this so many times, and that's really the key, to get those conversions, phone calls, form submissions, bookings into the account as quickly as possible to be able to train the algorithm and then start to scale and grow after we get the data in the account, right? So we don't always launch with everything. It's very rare unless we have a huge budget. But a lot of times we're working our way into the account and creating campaigns that prove themselves over time and add ROI to the practice, and then we start to expand and grow. Okay, but we do a full build so that it's locked and loaded and ready to go for sure. All right, so how do we get here? Let's talk about that. Okay, so most of what you need, if not all of what you need, is actually at your disposal in the Google Ads account. They have full access to real data. It's on their platform, right? So you could use tools like SEMrush or SpyFu or any of the others, but those tools are usually looking at ISP data, not actual data out of Google. So I found that the best way to do this is actually just to go into Google Ads and use the tools that you have available, right? So this is a test account. There isn't anything in here, but you could still go into tools and then troubleshooting, and there's this thing called ad preview and diagnosis. And what I love about this tool is that I could do all these different searches and transport myself anywhere in the world to do those searches. So in this particular case, I've said location, Phoenix, Arizona. I did cardiologist near me. Okay, and I can see as though I'm actually in Phoenix and I'm doing the searches. Now I could change this to Chicago or Miami or Timbuktu. It doesn't matter. Does Timbuktu actually exist? I don't know. But so in this case, we're doing Phoenix, Arizona, right? And I do a search cardiologist near me. And by the way, I could switch this, right? I could say desktop or mobile. I could say what does it look like on mobile? Okay, and I can see like who's actually running ads, and take a look at that. So the reason I'm doing that, by the way, is because I want to reverse engineer what others are doing. So I want to say, especially if I'm starting from scratch, I want to go, okay, that's interesting that they're dominating the searches. Like this is Biltmore Cardiology, right? So I can actually plug that URL into another tool I'm going to show you. And see exactly how does Google see their account, right? Because it's all through the lens of Google, and it's really interesting. So I would recommend doing this, just getting a lay of the land, like who's actually competing against you in your market. Go out there, take a look at their websites as well. Like make sure you're up to par on the structure of your website. And I talked about this in a previous video, but really important to understand your competitive landscape for sure. But this allows us to get started if we're building from scratch. Now, we've done this so many times. We don't build cardiology from scratch because we have a very extensive keyword list and we know what converts and what doesn't. But if you're starting from scratch, this is exactly what you need to do. And it is time consuming for sure, but it's a quality experience because you learn a lot about your market for sure, and you really need to understand your market. So you learn a lot about your market, who's advertising in your area. Again, you just go up to location, set it to your area, do a bunch of searches related. I would start with cardiologists near me because that's a popular one, and just make a note of who's running ads. And you can change this to desktop. You could change it to tablet. You're going to get different results. By the way, this is saying your ad isn't showing because this is a test account. It's not an actual cardiology account. But you're going to get different results depending on the time of day. Okay, so Google Ads is an auction. So not everybody's in the auction at the same time. Some people run their ads between certain hours. So when you do searches on here, the results will differ. Okay, but let's say, I know one that showed up a while ago was Phoenix Heart Vein and Vascular, and this is at phoenixheart.com. Another one, and I talked about this in a previous video, is Tri-City Cardiology, and both of these are in Phoenix. Okay, so let's just take a look. I'm going to copy, so I'm just going to copy, let's see here, I'm going to copy the URL, and I'm going to jump over into another tool called the Keyword Planner. Okay, so this is found under Tools, Planning, and then Keyword Planner. All right, so select it there. What you want to do is go discover new keywords, and then just plug in that competitor. Let's say that we're playing pretend here, right? So the Phoenix Heart is your competitor, but again, go through the ad preview diagnosis tool, find your competitors, take a look, see how Google sees their website. Actually, plug in your own URL here as well, because you want to see how Google sees your website. Which can be a wealth of information in terms of formulating your ideas for keywords, but also plug in your competitors, especially the ones that are advertising, which is why we use the ad preview and diagnosis tool first. All right, so I'm going to go Phoenix Heart. I'm going to say get results, and what do we have? We have a new version available. Hold on a second. Let me just refresh this. All right, let's try again. Discover new keywords. Start with a website. Make sure you select that for this particular process. I'm adding Phoenix Heart. I'm going to say use entire site, get results, and we got a bunch of results here. Now, it's going to default to United States. I would highly recommend tightening that up. So let's say, okay, I just care about the Phoenix market. So I'm going to just say that. I'm going to get rid of the US because I do want to see some volume data here, right? So All right, so this is going to give me average monthly searches, 3 month changes, year over year changes, competition. So how expensive is the keyword? Because if it's low competition, it's not as expensive. And you can see Phoenix Heart, because that's the name of the practice, is pretty inexpensive, as you would expect. And that would, by the way, go into a brand campaign. You don't want to bid on your own name within this campaign, because it's going to skew your data. So brands always live in their own campaign. But it gives you top of bid range, right? So top of bid range low, top of bid range high. And I would take this with a grain of salt, because again, this is an auction that's constantly changing. I would probably look at that top of page bid high range and plus or minus 30%. Quite honestly, it's just kind of a very loose guideline to get a sense for what they could be. Okay, but don't think that that's exactly what you're going to pay. This is also quoting broad match keywords, which are cheaper, because the looser the targeting, the cheaper it is. Exact match keywords are more expensive, so keep that in mind. All right, so we have a whole bunch of different keywords, keyword expressions. And as you look through here, a lot of them are informational, right? So these are people that are looking for, they're just learning. Maybe they feel like something is going on. Maybe they're searching for a member in their family. They have no idea, or just general cardiovascular health. Maybe just general information about blood pressure. Maybe they're looking for a blood pressure monitoring device or something. These are what I call top of funnel keywords, or mid funnel keywords. They have their place in a Google Ads campaign build, for sure, but perhaps not right away. Okay, and that's why when we build out our campaigns, and again, just kind of going back over here into this, a lot of these are lower funnel, and that's typically where we start. But there's a lot of different ways that people search, for sure. And you got to capture all of it, but at the right time, okay? And this gives you an idea of how people are searching, okay? Because this is actual live data that's happening in this particular market area. Now, some of this stuff is, you're going to discover, I don't want to bid on that. It's too top of funnel for now, right? But cardiology doctor seems to be pretty close to the bottom of the funnel. And there's a lot of different, cardiovascular treatment, right? Cardiologist Glendale. So this is now, we're getting really geo-targeted in this case. We're going, somebody's looking for somebody. And that's the type of keyword, especially like best cardiologist, Glendale, top rated, things like that. Or cardiologist near me. So these are the types of keywords that you want to make sure that you're testing, because if you're showing a high conversion rate on those keywords, that's something that you want to double down on. You want to make sure that you are spending the right amount of money on Google Ads to dominate the page for the keywords that matter to your practice. And again, it depends on your market area. You could be saturated with competitors, and your CPCs might be really, really expensive. If you're in a place maybe like Phoenix or Miami, or anywhere where there's an older population and people are searching a lot for this, it could be more expensive than versus somebody in maybe Sandpoint, Idaho. I don't know, right? It was a smaller market, right? The smaller market, the less activity. It's an auction, right? So it's an auction. So the lesser amount of people that are bidding, your prices go down. So make sure you do your research for sure and take a look at all of this. I would not only plug in competitors into this keyword planner, I would also plug in, like I said before, your own URL to see how Google actually sees your website. It's through the lens of Google. Really, really important. All right, and now that we've looked at actual keywords based off of those two tools, this probably makes more sense, right? So again, Google Ads marketing for cardiologists, creating profitable campaigns, the right way to grow your practice. I will mention this as I do periodically throughout this particular video series. This is something that we do all day long. We know it very, very well. I personally have over almost 24 years experience in Google Ads. It's insane how quickly that goes by. But I know it inside and out, and I know what converts in cardiology. So if you would rather just focus inward on patients and growth of the practice, and then have somebody else do the heavy lifting, especially when it comes to keywords, then be sure to reach out. I am at brandrocket.net/schedule, and we could just have a 15-minute conversation. I always like to learn about your practice, about your goals, about your market, and then make recommendations. And a lot of times we can do complimentary audits as well. So if you are interested, please do that. It's brandrocket.net, not .com, .net. Okay? All right. Now let's go back into the slide, because we are going to talk about, again, how people buy, right? So we've looked at keyword data. We can see it being expressed the way that it's actually being expressed in the marketplace. And now this makes more sense. And again, I've covered this in another video, so I'm not going to go into the details, but we're just going to kind of, briskly go through this again. So the stages of awareness, when somebody has no idea that they even have a problem, they're completely unaware. This is billboard type advertising, right? Things you're driving down the freeway and you're seeing billboards that most of the time have no relevancy to your life, but you're seeing it, especially if you have a commute, you're seeing it subconsciously a lot of times, and it's embedding those signals into your brain and creating familiarity and recognition. And after so many of those ad impressions, it does have an effect on the motivations or the decisions that you make when it comes time to actually buy a product or service that aligns with whatever they're advertising, even if you're not aware of it. So there have been many, many studies that prove that out. So we're at the unaware stage. They don't even know they have a problem. And then all of a sudden we have problem aware, where they're aware of a problem, but they don't know about the solutions to solve it. Some more like educational stuff up here. Solution aware, now they know about the solutions available to solve the problem, but they haven't chosen one. Okay. And they certainly aren't aware of your solution. All right. And then service aware, prospect or future patient knows about your solution, but not totally convinced that yours is the best, because they're looking at other cardiologists or other cardiology practices. And then most aware, where we want to get, is that the prospect knows all about your service, and it's just a timing thing, right? So maybe they're getting everything aligned with their insurance company or whatever it might be, and they're ready to pull the trigger. And we need to capture that traffic at the bottom, for sure. And there's different ways to go about it. So again, this is some examples of the way that people would express search intent depending on where they are in this awareness funnel. At the top, it'd be like stress and heart health. Problem aware, shortness of breath while walking, solution aware, heart disease treatment options. You can see they get more and more detailed as we get further down the funnel. Service aware, cardiologist near me, they'd be like best top cardiologist. Most aware, your practice name reviews or booking or something like that. Now, our goal, again, is to take these awareness levels and turn them into, create awareness. Drive interest, influence a decision, compel action. Again, I talked about this in a previous video, so I'm just going to kind of go through this quickly. And then we have different channels within the Google ecosystem where we're able to focus on those different awareness levels for sure, right? So we start at the bottom of the funnel. So this is very counterintuitive to a lot of people, because typically in a sales funnel, you start at the top and it kind of trickles down. It's like market qualified lead, sales qualified lead, and then customer, right? In digital marketing, especially with Google Ads, we're working backwards, and it seems absolutely insane, but it's not. It's not, because we are focusing on the action part of the bottom of the funnel. So we are targeting known high intent searches. Okay. We're dominating a page position for the right searches that we know, because we know what works in cardiology. We train the algorithm with that success. So those success signals, phone calls that last a certain amount of seconds, form submissions, bookings, that's all success. And we measure all of that. And it's really important. That's why I talk about conversions in the very beginning of this series. Really, really important to make sure you're measuring that stuff. Okay, I can't stress that enough. So we train the algorithm with success, and then again, this is the bottom up approach to marketing, because those success signals inform the algorithm so that when we move into different campaign types, for example, maximize conversions or even maximize conversion value, if we're bringing revenue into Google Ads, it's trained correctly. It's trained correctly, just like if you're, I guess, training a dog or something. You start with the easy stuff and then you get more and more advanced, right? So it's the same thing. You start at the bottom of the funnel with basically exact match keywords and manual CPC bidding, and then you're training the algorithm, and then you can expand with other types of smart bidding options. But we always start at the bottom. I shouldn't say always. I'm talking about a brand new account. Okay, so if we're taking over an account and we have quality conversions in the account, we do it differently. And there's a whole way to approach that. Again, making sure the conversions are quality first and foremost, right? But if you're starting from scratch and you have less than 30 conversions in your account that truly are real conversions, then you start at the bottom of the funnel to get through this training phase. And again, the goal for us internally is to hit 30. Okay. Now we're still at the bottom of the funnel, but what are we doing? We're targeting unknown performers. So this is where we're targeting ads that have unknown high intent searches. So they're still high intent, but people search in very strange ways. And I see this all the time. It's like insane the way that people search. It's like, I never would have thought of that if I'm structuring an account. I never, ever would have thought to put that in the account. But then we take that idea and put it in the account. Right? And again, the algorithm's still targeting buying signals. And again, these are long, unpredictable is the keyword here, unpredictable long tail searches. But what's great about this is that they represent higher search volume. It's literally way, way more than the exact searches because the way that people search. It is bizarre the way they search, but they still convert. And they're searching through desktop and mobile. And it's because it's all measured, we can see it. We can actually see this in the account through search terms. All right, and then we move up the funnel. So we go backwards. Again, we're going up. Now we're phase 3, and we're moving up. Okay, so that prior success informs upper funnel campaigns. Now we're expanding into additional channels. Performance Max. There's a time and place for it. I would never, ever, ever launch with Performance Max. You got to train the algorithm first, but Performance Max is cross-channel to YouTube and display and search and discover and Gmail and maps. And then we move into other upper funnel like the display network or YouTube. And then it really starts to click because it's all been preconditioned and pre-trained for success. And then we a lot of times bring in Facebook and Instagram. Now, there's an exception here. We do bring Facebook in the beginning just with well, depends. It's tricky because of HIPAA, right? So as long as it's general retargeting, it's fine, but nothing that's service specific for sure. Okay, so that's how it works because we looked at those keywords in the keyword planner and you can see how they were expressed all differently. Well, you can actually match them up right here with your funnel, right? And this is how we structure these accounts. And again, when we launch, we're starting with high intent searches most of the time because that's the low hanging fruit. All right. Okay. So that was a lot to unpack for sure. Thank you for hanging in there. I really appreciate you, by the way. And, you know, there's a lot to cover in this video series, but you know, it's worth doing, right? So I guarantee your competitors are probably, does that go together? I guarantee most of your competitors are not putting the effort in. And that's a huge advantage for you. This is a competitive space. You're learning how to do it right, for sure. But if you don't have the time, again, here to help, brandrocket.net/schedule. In the meantime, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next video. All right. Have a good day.